Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 18? Oh, starting over. Shit.
Good
nice
job. Real
okay. Super good at this. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 17 of the 40k Badcast. I'm your co-host, Dan Boyd, and I'm joined, like always, by Campbell McLaughlin. How you fucking doing, Campbell?
I'm fucking doing pretty fucking good.
Use the F word some more.
Yeah, that's
just
cool.
Let's get it right
edgy.
at the top.
Let's get
it right at the top.
Let's earn that explicit rating on iTunes.
All those dads listening to us thinking, hey, this is a 40k podcast. I play 40k. I'm going to listen to it while I'm taking my kids to fucking soccer practice or whatever the fuck. They're going to be like, oh, bad idea, Dad. Sorry.
Join us next time for the 40k Dadcast, where we'll be a lot friendlier to you and your childhood needs.
40k Dadcast. Neither of us are dads. We're cat dads.
We're both proud cat dads.
Proud cat dads. Okay, so welcome to the show. It's very terrible, as you can no doubt understand by now. This is episode 17. Last week we did our Nova cast, which was it was almost 2 hours of talking. I think I edited it down to an hour and a half, but still way too fucking long. Yeah,
it was still pretty lengthy. It was about an hour and a half. But
so we're gonna come back to our normal format this episode, and let's dive right in, man. It's time for the Aspects, where we talk about what's on our hobby radar. First things first, I haven't seen or talked to anybody from the Nova crew.
Really? Are they okay?
I think they're okay. I think they're just a little 40k'd out right now.
I can't blame them. Although I've been hearing I've got a lot of messages on Facebook, got a lot of emails and stuff like that from folks we met at Nova, and even LT, he actually supports me on Patreon now. So thanks for your $1 a month. I actually really appreciate that.
Nice. You appreciate it. It allows you to get, I don't know, one loose cigarette out on the street a month.
That's like 2 beers a year. Thank you very much.
Ooh, very nice. See, that's much better.
Yeah, about it looking on the bright side here.
So I think Mike Brandt has been in a cocoon for at least the past. I'm seeing him tomorrow. We're going to a baseball game, but I think he needed some time away from anything.
Yeah, I can understand why.
But I've been doing some work. I just finished some Assassins, a couple of Assassins. I mentioned in the last show that I bought a Calixis and an Eversor, and I finished them up, and I will post pictures along with the show notes, of course, and I'm very happy about these models. I think the models are so cool, and it's just fun to take a break and do one-off models every now and then.
Oh, yeah.
And the Assassins painted up super quick. There's a good amount of color on them for being a couple of dudes in black bodysuits.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed them.
I really prefer the take that some people have where they paint them with flesh tones.
I've seen that. They'll paint them in flesh tones and paint a black G-string on them or something.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I thought about doing that for the Eversor, at least. I was like, but I don't want to. I don't know. I don't want to do it. I chickened out at the last minute.
I'll say the same thing I said when I was gonna do my Heresy Ultramarines in second ed style. That's a lot of money for a joke.
It's a $35 joke. So I finished those guys up. I'm very excited to try and use. Not so much with the Calixis. I got the Calixis. I love the idea, the story behind the Calixis of a soulless nothing that goes around battlefields, and he's so soulless that he just drains the life of anything around him.
That sounds like me walking around the GT.
Yeah, except replace soulless with smelly, and then you're on it.
That is uncalled for.
Sorry, I felt bad after I said it. So the Calixis I think it's a cool model with his giant crazy helmet with all the shit fucking sticking out of it, and just going around sucking the life out of people. And then the Eversor is, I think, the coolest assassin.
Oh, yeah.
Also the least useful.
Oh.
And therefore the most fun.
Good balance.
I can't wait to. I'm going to be using him this weekend. I'm playing a goon from the Something Awful forums, Phaleem. I've actually met him in real life. He's a cool dude. I forget his first name though, but I'm sure I'll find that out.
Cool.
Soon. Playing him, I'm going to bring the Eversor. I don't think it's going to do anything, and I don't really fucking care. I think it's just going to be fun to have it on the table and go fucking psychopathic on a squad of guardsmen.
When it looks cool, then explodes, it'll have done its job, and you'll be happy.
Yeah, so Other than that, I just started my second squad of Primaris Intercessors. I just got a couple of base coats on them. They are far from being done right now, and I'm very happy to get back into painting the Raven Guard, man, because it's. I mean, the edge highlighting or whatever, it sucks, but they just look so fucking good when they're done.
Yeah, and they're your boys.
And I love the journey of painting, and just getting them to going step by step systematically getting them done. And since I'm a dumbass and said that I would have a brand new army by Adepticon, which is in 6 months. I need to fucking move on this project.
Yeah, no shit.
So I got these intercessors coming up. Hopefully can get some time this weekend to take care of them. Maybe have them, I don't think I can get them done by this weekend, but maybe midweek next week. I'd love to have them done.
That'd be pretty quick if you could finish them by the weekend.
I can't. There's absolutely no way I can. But I think like the base coat stuff with them are extremely simple.
Yeah.
Like the thing that takes a while is just the highlighting.
Yeah. Nope.
And it's not so bad. It's just like, I don't know, man. It's just like cardio when you're working out. You got to go run or you got to go stair climb or something, and it takes a while and it sucks, but you just got to fucking do it.
Yeah, highlights don't kill gains, though.
They kill brains.
Ooh, that's true. Highlights kill brains. So I've been super busy with actually hobbying stuff because I've really had very little desire to actually play the game since Nova.
Is that so?
Yeah, you don't say. But I got a lot of building and painting done. So I built 3 Scout Bikers, which I bought in like 2008. And Captain Draco, who is this limited edition Black Templar character from like 3rd edition. And
okay, so real quick.
Yeah?
You made a great point, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but you made a great point on, I think, Something Awful, where you're talking about how fast attack choices are the most annoying to paint.
They're all awful to paint. Like,
I think it's because they're all supposed, like, and this is I think true again for every single army. Not just Marines. Like fast attack choices for guard sentinels. I'm never going to paint another sentinel.
Yeah, I know you hated painting them.
It's awful. There's so many fucking nooks and crannies that when you're painting camouflage, it just takes so fucking long to paint camouflage on them. I'm never going to do it again. And so you've got bikers, which I'm sure you had to do in sub-assemblies.
Yep, had the riders were separate on a thumbtack up the butt of each one of them, so that was cool. But like when I did Assault Marines a while ago, I had to do the same thing. And it sucks time to paint things in sub-assemblies because there are all these little nooks and crannies to get around. Bikes, for some reason, I just always hate painting. Like the Raven Wing I painted from Dark Angels army were my least favorite thing in that entire army to paint. And I'm working on a land speeder next, the one I got at Nova. And while I'm happy with how it looks so far, it is just, primed. I'm not going to have fun painting that thing either because the crew of that are also in separate sub-assemblies. The base is its own separate thing. The clear stand is left also separate with a magnet on it. So at least it'll be magnetized, which is cool, but still it's just a lot of nooks and crannies and a lot of weird angles to get stuff.
Fucking edge highlighting on that one too, man.
But building fun. I will say building the newer quote unquote newer land speeder is better than building the older land speeder. I didn't have to use rubber bands to hold it together. I just had to rip the entire thing apart once and rebuild it.
That's not so bad.
Yeah, compared to the old land speeder, it's almost okay. So yeah, I built that, and I also built the Contemptor Dreadnought that I got by buying a shot for a guy at the Nova Lounge.
That's right. Oh, you fucking cleaned up.
Yeah, and like this guy was totally worth $5 whatever that cost, and I magnetized the assault cannon multi-melta arm in case I ever want to put that one on there.
Why would you ever play with the multi-melta?
If it gets a significant points drop in the future, and I'm like, I've got 125 points left to blow, and him with the assault cannon would be 170.
The assault cannon's so fucking good.
It is so fucking good. I didn't even bother. With the other one I made for my Heresy guys, I just glued it on because I was never going to use the multi-melta, but why not? I'm having fun drilling shit and putting magnets into stuff right now, so.
Hey, as long as you're having fun.
Exactly. So yeah, I did that, primed a 5-man combat squad, or Crusader squad, actually, because they can take a special and a heavy weapon in a 5-man squad for Black Templars, so that'll be a cool little objective sitter with a plasma and las cannon. And yeah, then I also got around to taking pictures of the Land Raider Storm Raven.
Look at you!
Yeah, I know,
Look
right?
at you with your fucking MSU Lasplas.
Right? I'm right back there in 4th edition. Watch out for my 76 heavy bolter shots per turn or whatever. I'm adapting to the meta of 12 years ago rapidly.
Excellent, man.
Yes.
Excellent. Next thing you know, you'll get a Dark Angels army.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. That'll be the day. But yeah, after Nova, I'm kind of like, you know what? I want to kind of get less bad at the game and maybe figure things out and take some better units and figure things that work out together well. So that's why I painted up the Scout Bikers. That's why I got the Land Speeder. That's why I'm doing the little 5-man tack squad. Just because like little harassment units and little units that can like hang out in your backfield and stuff like that are handy when everything else is, all the eggs in a big basket, like a Land Raider or Storm Raven or whatever.
Right, and if we're specifically talking about Nova, there's so much line of sight blocking terrain involved in Nova that a small unit that you can easily hide is worth its weight in injection molded plastic. All right, so let's move on to some releases.
I'd say for the first time in like 2 months, there's actually new shit to talk about.
I know. The Death Guard are here, and they are pretty fucking gross.
Yep. All right. So I want to start with the dice, where it's like a little gross goblet.
I fucking love those dice. Oh my god,
nasty.
Some people were talking about how you'll never be able to see what. Well, who fucking cares? They're fucking tight. Those dice are rad. I'm looking at them right now. They're awesome.
I know some people are talking. I think maybe something awful, maybe DACA, about using a gloss red wash on them to make them look extra gross and also show up some more. Diversity between the bumps so you can kind of read the numbers a little better.
Oh yeah, I like that.
It's a pretty good, disgusting idea.
That's a really good idea.
But yeah, there's him. There's Morty. Big old Mortarian.
Ooh, Morty.
Yeah, Morty.
His model I think is really well done.
It's all right. So I think when the Lord of Change and Magnus came out, I don't remember if both came out before we started the show or what, but when one of them came out in the show, my comment was, that's a beautiful model. I never want to paint it. And I'm saying the same thing here, except imagine that like +1. Like I really don't want to fucking paint that model. There's so much shit on it.
Detailed.
It's really nice looking, but there's so much shit on it.
I think that the aesthetic that they have achieved with the Nurgle Marines is really, really working. Now, it's not my aesthetic. I'm much more into cleaner lines and stuff, but the grossness of all of these sculpts is really something else. When we're talking about like, normally when we talk about like miniatures that gross me out, we're talking terrible, shitty male gaze, boob, titty, fucking miniatures.
You're thinking of like
people.
Kingdom Death, pregnant dick monsters and stuff. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's just whatever horrible miniatures that some fucking pervert made. These miniatures are gross, in that they're like slimy and tentacled and dirty and falling apart and rotting, and you can see it. And I think that the design crew behind this has done an extremely good job.
Oh, from a technical level, they're beautifully sculpted miniatures. Like the sculpting is really damn good. There's just like the aesthetic is everything turned up to 11, which isn't really my aesthetic.
I think it really works though for Nurgle. I've as far as design goes, I've always been a fan of Tzeentch.
Yeah.
As far as like the Chaos Gods and their design goes, but Nurgle's been a pretty close second, and they're having a lot of fun with this,
clearly.
The designers, with all the little panoscopes running around, and just all the crazy amounts of detail and the amount of like little 3-circle Nurgle symbols everywhere is really, really interesting and fun how they've managed to sneak all that stuff in there.
Oh yeah, and we've only seen a tiny bit of it. Like most of it that we've seen has actually been leaks. So there's like the Death Shroud Terminators.
Wait. I forgot about one thing I didn't like.
Oh, what don't you like?
Didn't they have a leak of the new Typhus?
Yeah, I think so.
And wasn't he like holding his scythe
one-handed
like, up in the air?
Yeah.
Is that Typhus?
I think so.
Or is that just like a generic character?
I don't want to say anything definitive because I don't know off the top of my head for sure, but I think that is supposed to be Typhus because there is like a whole box of the Death Shroud Terminators, and I'm guessing you might be able to make him from that box. But
I saw that. I love the Typhus miniature, the current one.
Yeah,
I think it's one of the best that they've ever put out.
Agreed.
Like bar none. It's one of the best 40k miniatures available. I like the Death Shroud Terminators, but chubby dude sticking his scythe up in the air like he just won the fucking flower cup in Mario Kart. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't look good. And you know what? We haven't seen official pictures of the miniatures, and a lot of these leaked photos, they always look like shit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe we're
Well, that's
maybe I'm coming off too quick here, but I don't know, man. If that's the new Typhus miniature, I'm not a fan.
That's the cycle of Citadel Miniatures releases, though, is there's a leak, everyone says, or a bunch of people say it looks like shit, a bunch of people say wait and see, and a bunch of people say I love it already. Then the actual pictures come out, and a couple of those opinions reverse, and they go, okay, I've learned my lesson. I'll keep that in mind for next time. Then a leak happens, and a bunch of people come out and say, this looks like shit. And then the whole thing starts over again.
So there is a new vehicle, though, that has we've seen leaked pictures of for the Nurgle.
It
looks like it's I guess it's a
demon
demon
with
engine
a cannon on it.
Right, but it's got like a mortar kind of aesthetic to it.
Yeah, it looks very Iron Warriors to me, actually. That thing actually appears in like the little Get Started magazine that's like $8 and comes with a single Space Marine. Like there's a picture of it in there. That thing's been being carefully hidden around pictures for the last few months.
I am looking forward to see what it does. Like see its profile and what kind of fucking despicable, horrible shit it poops out.
I think it looks like really good conversion material because it also looks remarkably restrained compared to everything else in the range.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it's pretty clean.
And finally, there's the blight drone thingies, which are for the most part, it's like okay, they look pretty much the same as they do in the box set. However, one has something called a blight mower.
Yes,
which is the name of my new grindcore band.
Oh my god, I can't wait to see what people do with these things. I've played against the fetid blight drones a couple of times. They're nearly fucking unkillable.
Yep.
With the all the high toughness, the 10 wounds, and like the 5-up feel no pain. They're really hard to get down. And when they do go down, they explode in a 4-up, which is hilarious. Mm-hmm. I want to see plague mowers in every game of 40k I play.
No, give me those blight mowers. More
mowers,
more
like,
problems.
Do you ever see that movie Dead Alive?
I know exactly what you're talking about, yeah.
It's a Peter Jackson film from, I want to say, the earlier mid-'80s, where it's a zombie movie, but the main character straps a lawnmower to his chest and kills a bunch of zombies by just walking at them and shredding them, it's unbelievably gory and schlocky. It's amazing, but that scene, it's gross. It's repulsive, and that's what when I hear plague mower, yeah, that's what I think of, and it gets the horror movie nerd in my head going. Gives me a little bit of a stiffy.
No, it's just a flying wood chipper.
Okay, anything else you want to talk about for the Auspex?
No, I think that's pretty much it for new releases right now.
All right, then let's get moving. So we're going to talk, our next segment is in response to a couple of the experiences we had at Nova this year, and we're calling it low sodium gaming, or how to get the salt out of your gaming, how to stop being so cranky. Dan on Friday night at Nova and Saturday night at Nova and Friday day at Nova. How to stop being so cranky, how to feel better about what we're doing. So we asked the Something Awful forums, our friends in the 40k thread there, to give us some ideas, and we've come up with a few of our own, and I've set my 2 idea buckets here as helpful ideas and unhelpful ideas, and I want to get to the helpful ideas first because I think there's a lot of, not necessarily conditioning, but a lot of thought we can put forth to talk about playing this game and having a good time doing it. Because we spend a ton of time creating these models and a ton of money putting stuff in, and sometimes it's just not fun. So let's have a conversation about getting it to where it's fun.
Because this is a hobby that we ostensibly do because we enjoy it. And I think we should all be trying our best to make sure everyone's having fun with it.
I want to have fun. I want my opponent to have fun. I also want to have like a competitive game, not a uber competitive game, but a game where both players can affect the outcome of the entire game.
Yeah.
I look back at Nova, and my game with Gavin stands out as a really, really awesome game. The first few turns, it was a slap fight. Nothing really died. He lost a couple of Venom Thropes. I lost a couple of Guardsmen, whatever. But as the game progressed, the intensity of the level stepped up every turn.
Yeah.
Like, I've got to be here. Oh, he's got to move here. It's all these things started to happen and pile on until at the very end of the game, we hadn't done any I hadn't at least done any counting of objectives or anything to see what the points were. So when it came out as an extremely narrow victory for me, I thought it was amazing.
I'm not going to lie. I kind of like not taking count of points to really like totaling them up until the end of the game, so it can be a surprise. I kind of like that, which is probably also why I lose sometimes. But.
Yeah, right. So one of the things that came out first is kind of funny. Paniscope, who we've already mentioned this thing, he came out with a great quote called "Get mad or stay bad."
Yep.
which I kind of liked. But in all seriousness, like, one of the things that people kept bringing up when we talked to them were having a post-game chat.
So even when I have a good game, and actually especially when I have a good game, I like the post-game chat. The sit down, just hanging out, kind of a little more chill. Now that you've got a little bit of time and distance from the situation, even if it's a few minutes, is really helpful in both becoming a better player and figuring out where things went right, where things went wrong, and figuring out what you want to do for your next games with the army you're playing.
Right. So there's times when you're playing an army that you don't know, and you get fucking renderized, and you're at the end of the game, you got to be like, hey, what happened? How did you do this? What rules did this? What units did this? And as you find that out, you can become a better player for the next game. You can be, or maybe not a better player, but at least a more knowledgeable player.
And that's one area where also playing competitive and tournament type games, or even event type games like what we just did at Nova, aren't always the best, because sometimes you just don't have time to have that sit down chat afterwards, because like, well, I got to run to dinner and then it's time for the next game or whatever. So,
right. Another thing you can do after the game or even during the game, in the idea of like talking with your opponent, is give some advice or ask for advice or talk through tactical challenges with your opponent. You know, sometimes if you're playing just a one-off game with a buddy, it doesn't have to be a cutthroat affair. It can be a collaboration where you're both trying to play well and have a good time. You don't have to look at it as like, I'm fucking playing Johnny. I want to kick his ass. I can't speak to him during the match. Can't talk about strategy or tactics during the match. Like, you can talk, like, turn to your opponent and say, hey man, what do you think? Should I take out your Deredeo Dreadnought, or should I try to shoot at your Leviathan Dreadnought? Like, what do you think is the most important target right now? And I mean, some people are going to do some gamesmanship and be like, oh, I don't know. You got to make that decision yourself. And that's fine. That's cool. But some people are going to be like, oh, that's a good question, man. Well, my Deredeo can reach out and touch anything on the field, but my Leviathan's crazy good at destroying your vehicles. So that can be an interesting thing, and that can bring both players into the game as a collaboration instead of just a competition.
It also helps to make, in a situation like that, it's especially good if you're the winning player. You're more likely to be the person in the giving advice situation, because if someone's stomping my ass into the dirt and they're like, what should I shoot next to my basilisk? I'll be like, just shoot them up your own ass, man. Just shoot them up your own ass. I don't want to deal with this.
Aim them at your head and kill yourself. No, that's a good point. Like, during the game, if you're winning, you have to try not to be condescending.
Yeah, and that's where, like, you brought up giving advice. Unless someone's asking for advice, you should probably be cagey about that. Because, if I'm getting my ass beaten, someone's like, well, if you just did this instead, I'd be like, I don't care anymore. And I'm just going to do the opposite of what you told me to do, even if it's for my own good, because you're condescending to me right now, or it feels like you are.
That's a very good point. There's almost nothing worse than unsolicited advice on the planet. Maybe like children starving, but
that's like a distant third.
They're very close. So you can ask. You can always ask. Say, if I'm losing, if I'm getting my ass kicked, I've done this with Kevin, my friend Kevin. I'll be like, what's going on? What am I going to do with these guys? And sometimes it comes from a place of cynicism and sarcasm, where I'm like, fuck, what am I going to do about this? Yeah. But sometimes I'm like, hey, what do you think the target priority is here? Because I don't know your army very well. I don't know and if it's just a friendly game, a lot of times people will just be like, oh yeah, you should, like, if someone's like asking me, if I'm playing my guard, they're like, well, what do I shoot at first? I'm like, oh, you want to kill the Manicore. Yeah. That thing's capable of crazy amounts of damage. You want to kill that, and you want to take out as much artillery as you possibly can, because that stuff's real fucking mean. The rest of it goes from terrible to kind of good, but the artillery is very good. And I mean, if I never play super competitive, so somebody asked me, I'm like, hey, what should I take out? I'm like, oh, this is the best thing I have. So you can always ask, like, if you're winning, say, hey man, You want to talk about how this game is going, like during the game, and take a step back maybe and say, hey, let's talk about this for a moment. If somebody's not having a good time,
I think taking a step back from the game at any given point is also just a good thing to do. Because again, like, yeah, we're trying to have fun, but it is just a game. Like, yeah, don't be shitty about it. But like, I had a friend in my old gaming group who, if his opponents were getting really salty, he'd just be like, hey, dude, are you working right now? All right, it could be worse.
yeah. Where are you? Are you at a game store surrounded by other nerds having fun, or at least trying to have fun? It's not so bad. You're not fucking out in the fields.
Yeah, so taking some perspective is always, I feel like that's good advice for anything, any stage in life, but when it comes to this particularly, having some perspective and stepping back from it for a second is good also, just to center yourself and get back into it. Taking
breaks is big. Like, take 5 minutes. If you're particularly upset about how a turn went or something, go grab another beer. Like, if you're at somebody's house and you're playing, go grab a beer. Say, you know what? I'm going to take a beer break, and I'm going to drown a little bit of these sorrows in this delicious oat soda.
If you're at a store, grab another beer. If you're playing out in public, grab another beer. Just keep drinking. Just don't stop. If you're underage, grab a wine cooler. Your parents will know what they are.
Another thing to do during the match that can just set the tone for it is, like, do the dumb shit. Like, make laser noises with your mouth. Forge the narrative, you know? Or, like, when your guy makes a charge, when your orc war boss makes a charge, throw some orc voice in there. You know, like, just do dumb shit. Do the dumb stuff. Vroom, vroom, vroom when your tanks are moving around. Like, don't take it too seriously, because it's not that serious.
Just don't be the guy in the room who does the top of his wall, because, like, you're having fun. Make sure everyone else is having fun, too.
Okay, I'm a fan of that.
Really?
When it's like, okay. I'm a fan of that when it's not, like, directly into my ear.
Fair.
I had a situation at Adepticon where the guy behind me,
oh no,
like directly behind me, did that, and I almost dropped my fucking tray of models because it startled the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
Which I didn't really appreciate too much, but I like that. I like that sort of engaging, like, whenever I fire heavy flamer at anything, I'm always saying whoosh.
Yeah.
Because it's funny. It's fun. Like, I like that kind of engagement. And yeah, it can be annoying when it's right next to your fucking head, but like at Adepticon, you were there in that giant fucking hall.
Every
somebody
15
somewhere
minutes.
would shout, "Wah!" And then like 3 people would be like, "Wah!" Like, yeah, it's dorky, it's nerdy, but they're having fun. That's fine.
Yeah, and by the last day, everyone's like, because they've been doing it for like 4 days now. I remember the WOG back when I was your age. 4 days ago.
So there's a couple of things you can do also before the game to try to make sure you're not going to get all salty. And one of those things is just set the tone with your opponent. Be like, hey, I'm not going to bring a super crazy list. I'm just going to, bring a bunch of fun stuff or new stuff that I haven't used yet or stuff that I haven't used a lot in 8th yet. Let's just see how it goes. Just see what happens. So let's not go too hard. You can always have that conversation, or like you can have a conversation like, hey, I'm new at this, or I want to play a narrative mission, or there's a ton of different ways you can have that conversation at the beginning of the game to make sure you're not getting into a situation where you're going to play somebody who's looking to win at all costs.
Oh yeah, completely. I feel like that's always been a very important conversation to have in this game, at least as far as I've been playing. And I think if you want to avoid any potential bad blood or bad moods or whatever, it's a good thing to do no matter what. And granted, there's events. If you're going to an event, you expect a certain level of X, Y, and Z. And that's one thing. But in a friendly game or a pickup game or whatever, it's always good to put that out there to begin with.
So right when 8th dropped, I played my friend Kevin a couple of times, and he kicked my ass. And I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna play Kevin for a little bit, because I want to get better at this dumb game, so I can actually be a tactical challenge for him when we play next time. And I think that I have gotten better since we have played, and I'd like to get a game with him. I should probably call him and set something up, but I'd like to try to get a game with him again soon to see if I can take down his crazy battle wagons or whatever. And maybe that'll be in a more competitive atmosphere between the two of us, a try-hard game, if you will. But it's that's the sort of thing where it's like, hey, if you're playing somebody and either you can't beat them because you don't know what you're doing, like I did with Kevin, or you don't like them, or they have a different attitude towards the game, play somebody else.
Yeah, like don't be afraid to call it. Like this, it kind of requires your best judgment. But if you're in a game where it's really obvious you're not going to be having fun for the next, 2 hours or whatever, don't be afraid to call it. Like, yeah, don't call on turn 1 unless you're, halfway to being tabled already. But you don't need to waste your time. If you know you're both going to have a bad time, you don't need to waste it.
So that's a really good point. If you're having a bad time and you know that it's looking bad, call it. If you're going to be salty, call it. I would argue, though, it's still a dice game. Luck can swing in your way. It's sometimes it's going to look bad, but then you end up winning the game because of a crazy good round of shooting you had, or a crazy bad round of shooting they had, or a very important assault that you made through. Like, calling it is a final solution. And yeah, sometimes you want, like at Nova, when I was fucking drunk on Friday and got my ass kicked by Chris, I called it. I was like, I'm cool. It's late. I'm tired. I'm kind of drunk. We're good. Let's not let me descend too far into the salt caverns before, and then nobody's going to have fun all weekend. Let's just get rid of this now. I mean, but still, if I had stayed in the game and maybe had a better attitude about it in the beginning, I don't know, maybe I could have won.
I mean, I was pretty far down the salt caverns on turn 1, my game with him, and on turn 4, I was like, all right, before I start hitting water, let's call it. But that being said, if you're in a game and it's looking less and less likely, like you're really going to be able to affect the outcome of it, but you're still having like an okay time and don't want it to sink too far, it's good to just kind of make your own objective or make your own fun so you still feel like you have some agency in it. So
right.
For instance, I was in a tournament years ago at a game store, and I was against a Tau player, which theme with me and Tau players, and my Marine army got fucking wrecked. I was absolutely getting demolished. I had one good round of shooting the entire game. The next 4 turns was me getting more and more dead, until at the end of the game, it's turn 5. I have one sergeant left on the entire table, and that's all I've got. He's locked in assault with one random battle suit, and I'm like, I'm not getting tabled. I'm not getting tabled today. And round ends, roll the die, game ends. And I just go, I didn't get tabled! And I like fucking Hulk Hogan my way around the store. And the dude high-fived me, and it was cool. Like, it was not really a good game, but like I kept myself in it, and I kept myself in a good mood.
Yeah, so I played a game recently with our friend Tim, and we played a objectives game, objectives game, come on, objective cards game, the Maelstrom game. And I was down 11-2 on turn 2. So it was like, oh, well, I'm not winning this game. So I kind of made some fun. I was like, I'm going to kill his nice big dreadnoughts. And then I killed his warlord in combat with my warlord.
Nice.
Which was a ton of fun. And I was very happy about that. And by the way, I play Imperial Guard, and he had a captain in Gravis armor.
Jesus.
So, yeah, I felt pretty good about that one.
It's like at the Ham Slam in the woods when when you left and I had my game where I was getting absolutely destroyed by Eric's AdMech, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to kill Belisarius Call. Is he hard to kill? I don't care. Emperor's Champion. Go. And the champion killed him in one round, and it was very fucking nice. Great. And again, the game was rough, but that was awesome, and that's the part I'm going to remember.
Right. So you've just got to emphasize small victories and set your own goals is a great way to try to reduce the salt level, dilute the salt level during a game. So I think we've talked a lot about helpful advice so far. I want to touch on some unhelpful advice. And I really only have one piece, and it comes up a lot when you talk about not having a good time with this. And it's the idea that, hey, why don't you just go do something else? And I really don't like it when people say that stuff, because a couple of reasons. One, going and doing something else and just abandoning the hobby is not going to fucking happen. Not for me, not for you, not for the majority of the people that do this. There are going to be times when it's bad game, or I've got a bad attitude, or something happens. And for me as a person and as a player, I've got to learn how to get past that. I've got to better myself how to get past that. And just some fucking asshole just being like, oh, why don't you just go do something else? It's not helpful. It's bullshit. It's trolling.
It's trolling at worst and a really lazy hand wave at best. That being said, when someone says go do something else, I assume they don't mean just fucking quit the hobby. I assume they just mean like, hey, just stop playing the game you're playing and go do something else. That kind of can tie into the earlier thing of it's like, hey, if you're both, if you know it's not gonna be a good time, don't be afraid to call it. Like I've definitely had a bad game where it was like, I was like, dude, this isn't gonna end well. I want to just, you good? All right, let's just chill out and have a beer or something like that. But yeah, no, the whole, if you don't like it, just leave, love it or leave it sort of shit is not really a good answer either.
I look at Nova, and there was some salt. I think, okay, there was some salt 3 times at Nova for me, right?
Yeah.
There was a game against Chris where I got my shit smashed in on the first turn. Realized I wasn't going to have a whole lot of fun, and conceded. And I think that was probably the right decision for me. I got out of there without causing, I don't think, any damage. I apologized to him a whole lot. I was like, I'm sorry. This is not about you personally or anything, but like, I'm just not going to have any fun, so I'm going to bail. I think that was the right decision to make.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that.
So the other times I got salty was when we're playing against Dan, who had all those Tyranids, and I was just done with super long turns.
Yeah, and that's an interesting case though, also because there wasn't a personal friction, and that wasn't him beating you into the ground or anything like that. It was just not fun. So
I think,
and you did make your own fun when you start fucking with him a little bit.
Well, I think that's something that I want to change about myself.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like my attitude in that. Yeah. Thinking about it, like afterwards, I think I had a bad attitude, and I think I want to change up how I react to that sort of thing in the future, and try to be more zen about it.
Yeah,
I think that might be better for me as like a person, like growing as a person, is trying to not let that shit get to me, and trying to overcome it.
Yeah, I think that's some good advice.
I think that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I think that's my plan.
So for me, I also, I had probably, were those your only real salt moments during Nova?
Yeah, I think so. Right. Yeah.
So I had 3. I had one, which is also a game against Chris, where I definitely got a little incredulous as it went on, which I wish I kind of kept a little more under control. Like, again, I wasn't mad at him, but I was kind of like, you fucking serious? That's us? All right, cool, fine, do it. I don't care anymore. Like, I definitely got a little bit too much that way, which isn't exactly fun to hang out with either. I'd like to work on kind of not losing with grace, because I can lose with grace just fine, but figuring out when to bottle it in that case. And maybe that was a game where I wish I could have kind of made my own sort of objective and found something fun to do, because it was a game with 2 beautifully painted armies and 2 pretty friendly people, which is kind of like, that's kind of the best setup for a good game of 40k there is.
Right.
The next time I got salty was it was in my game against Matt Odie in his artillery company, and I think that was just a mutual we're both tired and hungover sort of thing. So I think that's a case of self-care, where just if you're gonna be this is a draining hobby, this is a taxing hobby, and yeah, this isn't mountain climbing, but this is still a physical, psychological, mental exercise for a few hours. So make sure you're in a good state before you get into it, because when you're at 4 hours of sleep and a bit of a hangover, you're not going to be the best person to hang out with.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So take care of yourself.
Take care of yourself out there. So I like this discussion. This has been very good. I think that we as people, as fucking players of this game, as members of this community, we should try to get better, not necessarily in the terms of a better 40k player, but a better person who plays 40k.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to take some of the stuff that we've talked about in this discussion and use that for when I'm maybe next time I play and I'm not having a good time, to try to bring myself back up and get myself to having a good time with this hobby that I do actually love.
Next time I'm having a bad time, I'm just going to go back to this recording, this episode, and be like, hold on a second, and I just need to scrub through this 1.5 hour long podcast to find the part that I need to listen to. All right, we're good.
Yeah.
And then we'll go on to the next turn.
So guys, just have fun out there.
Have fun. Take care of yourselves.
I hope this discussion just lets people think about ways to improve their gaming experience. We're not experts. We're not fucking sociologists or anything. We're just a couple of fucking hams out here trying to have a good time. And I think that, Campbell, if we're thoughtful about it, we can better ourselves and continue to have a good time. But let's move on.
Yep.
So our next discussion is going to be a short one, and it's just really answering a simple question. And Campbell, what's that question?
What's the deal with the Underhive?
That's right. We're going to talk about Necromunda. So, as
that
everyone
was
knows,
Seinfeld. That was just kind of flamboyant.
That was great. I like that.
Cool.
We're talking about Necromunda. Games Workshop has teased it. Not even teased it. They've shown people, and we have played the game at Nova, and we are both big fans of Necromunda, and specifically the universe of Necromunda, the setting and the background behind. So we're answering the question, what's the deal with the Underhive? What do we like about Necromunda? And Campbell, I want you to go first.
So my favorite thing about it is that it is this more human look at the 40k universe. Because when you look at artwork of the 40k, of anything from 40k, there's always a bald guy screaming and a big thing in the background and some explosions. And there's just always like titans and primarchs and demons and superhumans and all this crazy cool shit. But you don't really get that big a feel of what the average schmuck is doing. And you get Imperial Guard artwork, but that's always still focused on the big main character guy and the officers and the guys earning glory, not the poor punks fighting in a sewer.
A fuck ton of dudes, like a wave of dudes attacking,
But I like that Necromunda focuses on this gritty, even grittier and even more industrial aesthetic. With all this punk and metal imagery and mohawks and studded leather and piercings and stuff like that on just these sub-working class people fighting in the sewers.
Yeah, so my show notes here say, what's so good about Necromunda? My first thing, it's completely fucking insane. It's the setting of that there's this class of people in Hive Primus on Necromunda who live in literal shit and squalor. And work in mines or foundries or whatever, and they're organized into these rival houses, these mercantile houses that set forth combat gangs against one another to try to muscle in on territory or steal shit or murder each other for fun. It's a nightmare. It's complete fucking chaos. It's one of the worst situations to imagine a human being in 40K.
And yet all the models look like they're having a great time.
Oh, they're having so much fucking fun. Necromunda is all about gang warfare. And it's shootout gang warfare. Almost 1920s Elliot Ness versus Al Capone. I don't know if Elliot Ness ever fucked with Al Capone. My history is not so good, folks. But that sort of shootout kind of mentality, or maybe even a Wild West set in the far future.
Ooh, yeah, especially with the expansion, yeah.
The shootout mission.
Yeah.
Remember that one where your fucking gangs walk up a hallway basically against one another, and you can't go off into the terrain on the sides. It's a big open road.
Yep.
And the game is all about trying not to be the first one to draw your weapon, but then killing one another as soon as people draw weapons. It's, oh my God, that mission was so much fun.
It's high noon somewhere.
Wild West shootouts, gang warfare. And then, Campbell, I think this is something that you really went whole hog with, is the crazily customizable and easy ways to imbue your gang with your personality.
Well, yeah, every gang is a kind of a not quite blank canvas, but it gives you these archetypes to work from, and you're encouraged to make each model their own character. Because this guy is, Juve number 3, but once he loses a leg and gets, the ability to caber toss people, well, now he's special. Now he's interesting. Now he's what's a good name for a caber tossing gangster?
Didn't you have
Caber Tossman? Sure.
Caber Tossman. Didn't you have meat themed Goliath gang?
So I have a Goliath gang, which is known as Team Meat, where you had Whopper the heavy, and I think Big Mac was the boss, and every guy was something involving meat, going down from Pink Slime, rest in peace, to Pork Pie, and so on. And my favorite was the rise of this one little Juve named Cocktail Weenie, who started off as just a punk with an auto pistol and a knife. And game by game by game, he just got better and better and better until he was my gang champion. And he had a higher gang rating than my boss. And he had a bolter with a telescopic sight and ballistic skill 5 and like, toughness 4 and 2 wounds. He was just this absolute murderous tank of a man. And I got to see him progress from being like this shitty little scrawny child soldier who throws grenades at people's faces all the way up to this really cool character.
That's another. It's an RPG almost.
It is.
There's RPG elements. There's leveling up. God damn it! I fucking love leveling up.
Yeah, it's
For
great.
fuck's sake, it's the fucking coolest thing.
Because like Shadow War Armageddon is cool and it's a nice little distraction, but it is kind of like Diet Necromunda in a lot of ways, and it gets you a lot of the mechanics of Necromunda without a lot of the fun of Necromunda. Like you don't get the territory struggling really. You don't get the same level of character advancement. You don't get the same level of character injury. Like I love holding my breath and rolling on that D66 table to see which eye my guy has lost.
Hey, but then you might get lucky and get a fucking bionic eye, and next thing you know, yeah, he lost an eye, but he's better than he was before.
Yeah, or so I had a lengthy campaign with a few of the guys in my local gaming group, and there was one ganger in my friend Dylan's gang, which is a heavy named Butch. I fucking hate Butch. Everyone hates Butch. He's just the nastiest heavy. He's gotten every skill advance he needs, and he's an absolute nightmare of a guy. And I had guys in my gang who had basically the equivalent of preferred enemy, Butch. Like, they were just so pissed that not only did they hate, they didn't even care about the Van Sar gang. They just cared about Butch.
Oh, he was fucking Van Sars too?
Yeah.
Listen, listeners, if you're not familiar with Necromunda, Van Sar, people who play Van Sar gangs are the people who buy BMWs and then consider themselves BMW drivers. Which is to say, pig shit assholes.
It's a very specific example that paints a very particular picture that I completely can see in my head.
That's fucking Van Sar with all their fucking slick back hair and their dumb fucking goatees.
Ponytails. Don't forget the ponytails.
Oh my god, the fucking ponytails. What the fuck? God damn it, I hate Van Sar. My brother had them. They all had fucking plasma guns. And you're like, how the fuck does this Juve have a plasma gun? Why the fuck does this Juve have a plasma gun? And where did you get the fucking credits to buy a third fucking plasma gun?
So,
pretty sure he's cheating.
My favorite thing that happened, again, this is the thing that happens in Necromunda that does not happen in 40k, was I had Cocktail Weenie, who, he's a boss. He's a cool dude at this point. And I've played in a game where a friend of mine has a gunslinger, who has the special ability to use 2 pistols.
2 pistols at the same time, yeah.
Yeah, and I go turn 1, okay, 30 inches away because I have the scope on it. Boop, knock him down, roll at the end of the game, dead. I shot him off a balcony, he fell down dead.
Nice.
And the next week, I have a game against another friend of mine who has this like shitty little gang where it's like they're all injured to hell. They're just a really low value gang, but he still wanted to play. Turn 1. There's a gunslinger. He's the closest target. Bang, boop, down, rolls dice, dead. He's dead too. I've killed 2 gunslingers with Cocktail Weenie. Then I have a third game against Dylan. And he has just converted up one of his Juves, skilled up to be a ganger, and he got gunslinger. And he's like, yeah, look, see, I even I got these old metal models that you can't get anymore, and I converted this one to have 2 bolt pistols. And I had to match the aesthetic of the old bolt pistols, so I had to track down the bits. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Turn 1. 30 inches, bang, roll at the end of the game, dead. He didn't even get a chance to paint him, but for whatever reason, rolling up the gunslinger skill just was a death sentence against my gang.
See, that's what the great thing about Necromunda is, and I really, I'm looking forward to the chance to get into the campaigns with those, because it's just so fucking cool. It's so stupid and so much fun. I can't wait. I really wanted to do Cawdor, because I love me some religious fanatics. And I want my shitty Cawdor gang full of flamers to come back.
I love my religious fanatics so long as they're not at my doorstep.
Yeah, right.
But
all right, man. So we've got some fucking business to take care of right now.
We do. It is time for the boop, 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 global campaign update. There'd be a news ticker at the bottom if this wasn't radio. So yeah, we are doing a global campaign, and you guys have played the first mission and sent in your results. And there has been more than one of you who sent those results in, which I am frankly staggered by and very, very humbled by.
So let's do a quick recap of the first round.
So, mission 1, The whole point was to either preserve the anime if you were on Team Bad Boy, or burn the anime if you're on Team Fuck Boy.
Cleanse the galaxy of anime was our mission.
Yeah, and my favorite email, because we asked you to send these in by email, like none of you fucking did. I had to find them all on forums, but still, you could send them in by email. I'd prefer if you did. It makes them easier to find for me to find. But my favorite one was the email was just titled Campbell's Sad Hentai Love Life Discovery Mission.
Oh, man.
But yeah, so we got the results in. And
I don't know what they are. This is a surprise to me, so tell me.
That's probably awful, because I have a microphone. It's a tie!
No!
Mission 1 saw an even number of victories and defeats sent in, with the Bad Boys and Fuck Boys in deadlock for Mission 2.
Oh my god.
If we are doing it strictly by points scored, the Bad Boys are ahead, but I don't want to do a tiebreaker until we're at the whole end of the entire thing. But at this moment, it is a deadlock.
So it's a fucking tie after round 1?
Yep, it is exactly as satisfying as you think it sounds, which is not at all.
40k fuckboys, y'all got to pick it up. We got this. All right, this next round is going to be tight though. I'm really excited about this. Are you ready? Should we explain it? Should we go for it right now?
Yeah, let's go on to round 2.
Okay.
So this is also just to lay a little more groundwork in case you missed the last episode, the episode before last, whatever. This is a 5-round global campaign, and at the end of it, we'll find out who are the baddest boys of all, or who are the fuckest boys of all. Whichever faction wins the campaign will, quote unquote, control the podcast until we do our next global campaign. Yeah.
So if the 40k fuckboys win, then we're in control of the podcast for a while. If the bad boys win, God forbid, there's gonna be a lot more anime.
Hey, anime saved me, and it can save you too.
Okay, round 2. I'm really excited about this one, Campbell. I feel like this first round was the Campbell round, but now we're getting into the first Dan round.
Yeah, seeing how this mission is called Dan, this is just Blood Bowl.
That's right, fuckers. It's time for Blood Bowl in 40k. So this one's great. It's short table edge deployment, aka hammer and anvil. One objective, smack dab in the middle of the table, and to score, you must carry the objective, like the relic, within 12 inches of the opposing player's edge, a.k.a. their end zone. No, their end zone, not their deployment zone, because their deployment zone is 24 up. We're talking about halfway through the deployment zone to 12 inches. Once it is the objective, once the objective is carried within 12 inches of the opposing player's edge, you complete your turn. As in, finish the rest of your movement phase, shooting phase, and assault phase, and you score 1 victory point at the end of your turn, and then the armies redeploy.
Yeah, so this is my favorite part. Both armies, by the way, not from scratch, what is still left alive redeploys in their deployment zones. And you move on to the next turn.
And the objective is kept at the center of the table, once again, and you move on. So each time you get the objective within 12 inches of the opponent's table edge is worth 1 victory point. There are no secondaries. This is it. The only way to win this game of 40k Blood Bowl is to score points. Or I guess you could table your opponent too. That is a viable strategy in Blood Bowl, and it will remain a viable strategy in 40k Blood Bowl. The game lasts for exactly 6 turns. There's no what do you call it? Random game length in this one. Mm-hmm. I think Campbell, I have a feeling like in this game you're not going to go 6 turns. I think a lot of armies are going to be dead by like turn 4 or 5. But 6 turns is the max. And then we added what I think is a very fun mechanic.
So it wouldn't be Blood Bowl without passing, would it?
No, it certainly wouldn't. So infantry, monsters, and walkers can pass the objective once per turn. You can only make 1 pass attempt per turn. The passing model must be armed with some sort of close combat weapon. Range is strength plus d6 inches. If a weapon modifies the strength of the thrower, then that strength is used for the thrower's range. Example, a Space Marine captain with a power fist throws the ball 8 plus d6 inches. If this falls short of a friendly unit and lands within 1 inches of an enemy unit, It is an interception, and the enemy unit controls the objective. This does not end the throwing player's turn like it would in regular Blood Bowl. If the objective lands more than 1 inch away from any units, it stays where it is until a unit comes and picks it up. Throwing at the objective uses up the throwing model's shooting phase.
Now, mind you, we did limit this to infantry, monsters, and walkers because some asshole will bring a knight and they'll throw it like 4 feet.
Right. No, that's not happening. It's just infantry, monsters. Though I feel like fucking Nids might be really good at this round.
Ooh, they might, since they're trying to get into the middle anyway.
Right? And Carnifexes chucking the ball like 16 inches down the fucking thing.
Yeah.
That's so yeah. So the idea here is just a silly game of Blood Bowl and 40k with redeployment in the middle of the game.
Now, mind you, these rules will be posted on the 40k Badcast website at 40kbadcast.com/campaign, along with the rules for last week's mission.
Yeah, and when you are done with this mission, you got to report your game, your results. So before you play, choose which faction you're a member of, the 40k Fuckboys or the Badcast Bad Boys. And then that's what team you're on. So you're scoring points for the team. So you want to win in the name of the Fuckboys or the Bad Boys and score as many points as possible. Then when you're done with the game, please email us your results. It's great that so many people on different forums are talking about it and having a good time and texting us and whatever the fuck else. Just email them, contact@40kbadcast.com. It helps if everything is in the same spot so we don't have to go to 9 different fucking places to see who's winning.
Yeah, because the last time I had to go through the Something Awful forums, I went back to my last post about that from like 25 pages ago, and I had to do Control F find for the word fuck on every page so I could find fuck boys.
You probably would have been better if it was boys, B-O-I-S.
Yeah, the whole thing is some people spell it B-O-I-S, some people spell it B-O-Y-S. So yeah, so email it to us,
It's officially F-U-C-K-B-O-I-S. So let's move on. We've got Factor Fanfiction. We haven't done it in 2 weeks. We gotta give it to him. We gotta give him that sweet fanfiction, Campbell, or that sweet terrible writing.
Gotta give it to me. You gotta give it to me, baby.
Uh-huh.
Oh, no. That's this. I think it's the second time you and I have had a communal offspring.
And Campbell dies, coughs himself to death. All right, come on.
My father would have wanted it this way.
Give me that sweet, that nasty, that gushy stuff.
Coldblade was mysteriously landed on the planet of Raphoxia as a baby and was found by the people living there, who was half fox, half human people who lived in big forests and didn't have any weapons because they were peachful with the nature and everywhere. When Coldblade was 14, the planet was suddenly invaded by chaos that killed all on the planet and burned down the forest, so it only became a big charred planet, all dark and burned. Coldblade was the only one who survived, but his soul became dark as a dragon, so he started calling himself Dragon Dark, and then he got all the life force from the dead forest, and people and animals that lived there, and got really super strong and killed all the Choas on the planet, including a demon prince. When he killed the Diamond Prince, he took his helmet and put it on himself and got demon powers, like I wrote earlier. Later, the Imperium came and saw the planet, and then saw Coldblade there alone, and then they took pity on him and took him in. They noticed that he was a powerful psyker, but they knew he was very pure, so they trained him to become an Inquisitor. Even as only 14 years old, he progressed really quickly in the Inquisition, and he started his own Ordo because he saw all the other Inquisitors were corrupt, so he made his own Ordo branch called the Ordo Metallicus that aimed to kill all evil Xenos heretics and demons all the same, but became killing them, looking to see if they were evil or not because Coldblade knew that some demons and Xenos and heretics really were misunderstood, so he took them in and made them pure like him. One time, he found a planet that was full of Choas, so he attacked it and killed all the evil on there. But then he met a demonette, and they first fought, and it was an epic battle where they both fought really well. So Coldblade said, "You are really good," and demonette say, "Thanks." And then they decide to join each other because the demonette was really nice and also half Eldar, so she had Elder weapons like a plasma pistol, but also demonette powers like sex powers. She didn't want to be Chaos anymore, so she became with Coldblade and became a commissar. After a lot of fighting together, they became boyfriend and girlfriend because they really liked each other and teased each other during battles against evil, having the demonette that is called Ichigo call Coldblade Oni-chan, with inspiration from an old Terra culture that they discovered and investigated. And later, they also had a son, but that is in the future, so I'll not talk about that. Also, God. Ichigo is only girl and no dicks because Coldblade is straight and thinks gay things are disgusting, so shut up! He also has a sister who is a Space Marine in a Secret Girl Space Marine chapter. When Coldblade fights them, he always gets nosebleeds because he gets excited by all the Space Marine boobies, so that is one of his big weakness, but his girlfriend always hits him in the head with her pistol when it happens because she is jelly, but they really love each other no matter what, and they know it. He also has very good ties with the Tau, and usually they are friendly with them, and they help him.
Yes.
Hold on. And his order to kill Xenos and heretics and demons sometimes. They were the ones who gave him his weapon, the railgun with bolter ammo and Tau ammo. That is also a secret katana for melee. That Tau, because Coldblade teach the Tau that melee is also important. He fights very well with the Tau and their allies, except the Kroot because they are fucking stupid and ugly, so they can come. And
wow.
Scene. That
fucking went everywhere, didn't it?
Yeah.
That's really something else. Wow. Coldplay. It was a very interesting name for this character. That's garbage, awful fan fiction written by somebody who's probably not even 14, probably 12.
So that was actually written by.
What happened to Dragon Dark? He was talking. He was like Coldplay got mad, and now he's Dragon Dark, and then never came back to Dragon Dark.
Well, after he became Dragon Force, he decided to reinvent himself, I guess.
Oh, Dragon! I remember when Dragon Force was cool.
You
in
do?
2006.
They were?
I don't know if "cool" is the right word.
Well, I read through the Fire and the Flames to get to the end of this fan fiction. It is actually written by Alphabusa, who's the guy who does the Emperor's text-to-speech device videos.
Oh, really?
So shout out to my boy Alpha. Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah,
that was really funny.
He posted it saying that it was his fan fiction when he was 16. I think he wrote it like yesterday, but it comes equipped with a picture of a sort of anime boy, Final Fantasy looking anime boy with one hand awkwardly MS painted over, the Imperial Aquila MS painted, pasted over his cloak, and a katana where the end is just a Tau railgun.
That sounds about right.
It's really good. We'll link it in the description.
All right, guys. You can find us on many forms of social media and all that bullshit. Email us, 40kbadcast.com, contact at... Man, I could have done that better.
Wow.
Contact at 40kbadcast.
Nice non-linear narrative in describing our email address there, Dan. Good job.
Thanks, fucking Yoda. All right, contact at 40kbadcast.com. Email us. Email us your results from the global campaign. Email us if you want to play in the DC or Boston area, because that's where we live. Email us dick pics. I don't fucking care. Do whatever the fuck you want. But
tell us you
get
care.
at us. Get at us. Contact at 40kbadcast.com. Please send us fucking pictures of your campaign matches in progress. I would love to see that shit. That would be so cool.
And to everyone who we met at Nova who emailed us, welcome. Thank you for saying hi and checking out the show.
I hope you enjoy it. You can also find us on Twitter. I am at DB_sleazy. If you like tweets about baseball, then that's the one to follow. You can get Campbell at Brother SRM, and if you like tweets that aren't terrible, that's the one to follow.
That's probably the kindest endorsement you've ever given me, Dan.
Campbell also has a real cool YouTube channel called Camhammer.
So youtube.com/Camhammer Show. I actually just today, on the day of recording, put out a video on my experience at the Nova Open. So if you want to check that out and you want to hear a little bit more about it and see all the cool armies I played with and played against, you can check out there.
And Chaboy Dan Boyd is featured prominently in several shots.
You are also in the thanks as Chaboy Dan Boyd.
I know, I saw that. I laughed very hard. And lastly, tell your fucking friends about the show. I know you got them. I know you fucking got friends. Tell your stupid fucking friends to listen to this fucking podcast. Don't fuck around.
Tell your enemies about the show.
Tell everybody. Tell your mom. Tell your dad.
Tell your dog.
Your cat.
Tell your male person.
Tell the fucking lady at Chipotle just take the fucking queso out of your mouth for 2 fucking seconds and use your mouth to say, hey, listen to the 40k Badcast.
Tell your therapist when they ask you why you're there.
It's not so bad.
Yeah, it's all good.
It's still pretty fucking bad. It is the Badcast after all.
Is,
Campbell,
yeah.
I want to go home. I want to be done with this.
Yeah, I'm ready to make some dinner. So,
all right, hit me up. Give me a quote, motherfucker.
The torments of the flesh are petty concerns as measured by the tortures of the soul.
Ain't that the fucking truth? We're the 40k Badcast. We're bad at 40k. So can you. And we out.
finger guns. Pew 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 pew. Brr, 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 brr. That was finger guns into air horns. Are you forging the narrative over there?
You fucking know it.